Hello, everyone. Casey Kendall, Prosperity North Advisors, a Kendall Insurance Agency. Welcome to Casey's Corner. My name is Casey Kendall. We are located here in Gilbert, Arizona in the 1010 studios. Joining me today, Jeremy Miller, Valley Low Voltage. Jeremy, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
So when we initially had spoken, I said, hey, man, you got to come on my podcast because you do a great job. And you've done my alarm system, you've done my camera system. I know a ton of people that you've helped. Let's do this. Tell me a little bit about who you are, your business, how you got started, and what you're doing right now.
How I got started. I don't know how many people that watch this remember like the old blinking 12 o'clock on your VCR. Back when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, everybody in my family, from my grandparents, aunts, uncles, extended family, they all called me to come program their VCR and, set their coffee pot to automatically start at 6 in the morning or whatever, Just I've always been in electronics. And shortly after high school, I think I was 20, my best friend's stepdad opened up a company, and he was telling me how he was going into these, like Intel and these big corporations and putting in like the old video teleconferencing rooms and stuff like that. And I was like, hey man, that sounds awesome. If there's ever an opening, let me know. And he came into my my retail job at the time, and it was like, hey dude, you said if there was a chance to let you know, we're getting ready to let a guy know. And I literally right then went to my old manager and was like, hey, I have an opportunity here. And she said, go for it. And so the next week started working for this company at 20 years old.
Wow.
27 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah. And, that was back in the analog days, the coax cables, and, you'd run 10 wires to a device because every signal needed a different device.
Yeah.
Now we can handle that in two wires.
Side note, the internet just turned 33 years old.
And see, well, back the internet, yes, but the use of the internet, we didn't really start.
Big difference. Big difference.
It became a major part in our life. I don't know, 15 years ago, somewhere in there. Like it's been around, but we didn't really use it. Now everything's on the internet or the cloud or the networks, our individual networks, our home, smart homes, and these interactive systems and control systems and stuff like that. So it's just went from this really weird niche that I was doing for these big corporations, and now everyone's got it in their house. So it's been doing it a long time. It's changed a lot, but I still enjoy it.
So I remember the VCR days. I'm old too, and I remember my dad just taking a piece of black tape, like electrical tape, and just put it right over that blinking 12 o'clock, and that's how we fixed that in our house.
All my aunts, they wanted to record their days of their lives.
Oh, okay.
Children, and as the world turns, so I had to get out there and get it all programmed, because remember you could program to automatically record every day.
Yeah.
And so I do all that.
Pre-TiVo.
Yeah, pre-TiVo, exactly, before
Got
the DVRs. Right?
So let's take a step back, right? I appreciate you sharing how you got started in it and what's really sparked your interest in it. But can you define what low voltage is and what that world looks like on the broadest basis, alarms and...
Yeah. So when people ask me that question, because I get it a lot, the kind of generic answer I give is if you can plug it into the wall, plug it into existing power, chances are it's low voltage. Like you plug it in and then it goes through a transformer, transforms it down to DC or whatever. And so like your audio systems, right? Your surveillance cameras. I do audio, video, security, networks. That means cameras, alarms, Ethernet cabling through offices. I do residential, commercial, industrial, kind of the whole gamut. But yeah, it's anything that isn't actually running power or outlets or lights or any of that stuff, but the actual, the systems that plug into that system.
Wow. Okay. So does that include stuff like Bluetoothing
Well, yes. Like,
Am I even like, am I in the right?
Bluetooth is part of the technology that I run into, right? So Bluetooth is, it's not really a voltage because it's a
Sure,
it's
sure.
a
Air.
frequency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's involved in pretty much that smart environment, that integrated house.
it.
All that's like Bluetooth or Z-Wave or
So if you came in and put speakers like above my couch,
uh-huh.
those are those going to be like Bluetooth? Or are you going to hardwire those?
It depends on
There's
really.
gotta be
It's either one.
advantages.
It's either one. Yeah. It comes down to, I go into a lot of houses where, you may have listeners. They've got these random boxes in their ceiling. And they don't know what they're for. Well, that's when they built the house. They pre-wired in there for speakers.
Oh wow.
And there's probably a speaker wire sitting behind that blank place. So in like your living room, where you have, it looks like maybe you've got a surround sound system there, but there's no speakers. Well, you actually have the system in place. You just don't have the equipment.
Interesting.
Right? That way, when someone like you that doesn't have anything like that, you call me out and you want something there, I gotta take out sheetrock and stuff to get the wire into the place, right?
Wow.
So, or that's why wireless speakers have become a thing, because you can save on the construction.
Yeah.
But then, there's pros and cons. Anytime
Yeah.
you do anything wireless, as we've all experienced with Bluetooth or anything else, cell phones, there's going to be peak times, bad locations, whatever. But for the most part, the wireless technology has been.
Now I met some people one time and they basically had I don't know, let's call it like a smart house, where they walked in and they were like, "Hey there, house, set the time to, or set the temperature to 78, and I want my play Elvis Presley and do this and that and whatever." And so is that kind of like you can set it all up, or like you're leaving your office and you're like boop boop bop boop beep boop beep, and I want it like
That's
this?
too many buttons, actually. Yeah, you just open an app and you say leave, and it can turn off the lights, set the alarm, it's
Pull
all
shades,
programmable.
all that
it's
kind of
all
stuff.
Programmable. And yeah, that's the stuff I do. There's different companies out there do different things and different products, but the line that we try to use, our primary line, it's an alarm panel, so that runs like the house alarm, burglar alarm type thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that monitored or not. But then it also hooks up to like water detectors you can put behind your refrigerator or behind your toilet or something like that. So if it gets you, it triggers the alarm that automatically triggers your phone. So you say the water detector behind the toilet is going off, and you can, respond accordingly.
It's interesting that you bring that up. In my world, in the insurance world, and I don't do a whole lot of personal insurance, so to speak, like personal lines insurance, which would be home and auto. But the ones that I do, they ask a question in your home application: do they have a water sensor? And so I imagine that's probably what it is, and that mounts underneath.
Well, you can. It's basically it's a wireless device. It's got water's conductive, right? So you take it and you put it behind the toilet. It's got two prongs. Well, that water comes in and connects those two prongs, shorts it out, sends a signal.
Interesting.
And then so you can put them behind the fridge, under the sink, behind the toilet, all those problem
anywhere
areas.
like water could be present.
I have one of our best friends. They went through and they went and redid all their floors in their house. When they were getting their floors all done, they put the fridge back and broke that water line, but they didn't know it until their whole house had flooded.
Oh man!
So they had to take up all the floors, redo all their cabinetry. Like, it was a whole mess, right?
Yeah.
They get that all done. They're just getting settled back in their house, and they came home from vacation or something, and their master bathroom toilet did the same thing as soon as they got done. And so they had to redo everything all over again. Water can cause some serious issues.
Well, yeah, water carved the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, so it's not good to have in your houses. So that's just, but you mentioned the thermostats. I just had a customer, got a full surveillance camera system, alarm system, and then he had 5 thermostats in his house.
Wow.
And he could get all 5 of them on his phone. So from his office, he could, he had a home office. He spent all day in his office, so he could, from his office chair, turn off the thermostat in his bedroom. There's no reason for that to be cooling or whatever, And and then he, right on his phone, he can get the cameras, the alarm, set the thermostats, the water sensors, we can control lamps outlets. You can turn outlets on and off from your
Wow.
phone, stuff like that. So the technology's all there. It's just a matter of, figuring out that. That's where I'm kind of different than most people. I don't try to come in here and sell you every possible thing for your house. What we try to do is take every customer's wants or needs. Like, I'm a big believer, and even when I go to a commercial job, I want to find that end user that's using the product and knows what they want and what they need. And just, I'm not trying to give you everything. And then I try to find out the most efficient way to get that done, both financially and equipment wise.
Yeah, what's going to be best for them.
Yeah.
I know that when you came in and did our alarm system, you had talked about the sensors, and we already had, gosh, at some point, I think we've gone through 2 or 3 different alarm pads, plus the company, the monitoring company. And you were able to actually reuse a lot of that equipment.
Yeah. So we have what's called a takeover panel, where we take the existing wiring in the house. Basically, I walk into a house, it speaks Spanish or German, right?
Wow.
And I need it to speak.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, gosh.
I need it to speak English, right? So
Yeah.
I take all that Spanish and German and hook it all up, and it goes through a translator to speak English to my system. So, we've got these big national companies. There's
Wow.
4 or 5 huge companies, and they've all got their specific equipment, and you lease it, or once you're done, you can't reuse their equipment without using them. Well, we can come in and take that equipment out, use the existing wiring, and just kind of take the system over. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about the newest thing that you are doing, which is alarm monitoring. So tell us a little bit about that.
So, it's been I used to work for an idiot. Well, I've worked for a few idiots, but
Me too.
this guy.
And then I worked for myself.
Yeah. This guy I used to work with, he was interesting. He would buy stuff off of eBay used, and then me being the lead tech, he would hand it to me and say, go install this in this customer's house. Don't let them see that it's used or anything else. I mean, he was a shady businessman that knew nothing about low voltage.
Wow.
We just saw this dude every month, or I don't know, every month or every quarter. The dude ended up with like $250,000 dropping in his account. Like, what the heck? And I realized it was from his alarm monitoring.
Really?
He was just going out and I realized that there was a big opportunity there for, for a business.
Yeah.
And that was about 20 years ago. And I was like, if this idiot can do this, I can do this,
Yeah.
And, life happens, and I've gone through jobs and everything else. And then COVID happened. I got laid off from my last place and needing to decide what to do. Got my company started. And that 20-year goal's kind of been eating at me since then.
Yeah.
And man, it's a process. I started all this low voltage stuff. I don't think I said it earlier. Up in the Northwest. I'm from Washington State, Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington. I'm from there. They're very much more regulated than we are here. I had to go through 4 years of schooling and everything to get licensed individually. Here in Arizona, they license the company, and I can go hire some dude sleeping on the street this morning to come work for me tomorrow if he wants to. In Washington, you have to be in a training course in
apprenticeship.
In order to get an apprenticeship card.
Interesting.
And if you don't, as an individual, have one of those cards, and then an inspector shows up on site, you are heavily fined.
Wow.
So I've come from that background, right? So coming into Arizona, it's not like that at all. I'm sure you have lots of listeners or viewers that are homeowners. Just be sure that who you're using is, registered with the state of Arizona, the Register of Contractors. When it comes to alarms, when it comes to the alarms, a lot of people don't know this, but there's another bureau called the Bureau of Technical Registration. You need to be licensed as an alarm company or registered as an alarm company. You need to have a, what do they call it? An alarm agent. And each of these levels require fingerprinting, background checks, all that.
Sure,
stuff.
for the obvious reasons.
Yeah, but, I've seen some ads or even received business cards of some other, which I would say decent sized companies here in the Valley that if you look them up in the Bureau of Technical Registration or even the Register of Contractors, they're nowhere to be found.
They don't even know what that is.
So there's just a lot of, you know, in construction, we call them trunk slammers. Basically, their warranty's good until you can't see their taillights anymore.
Wow.
And I'd say probably, you know, 40 to 50% of the work I do is going back and fixing jobs that somebody wanted to go with someone cheap, and that someone cheap didn't know what they were doing. I've heard stories of contractors running to the Home Depot real quick and then never coming back. And I show up and there's just wires sticking out of the wall.
Really?
And then I got to figure out everything that they've
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That specific scenario has happened to me at least 5 times.
Really?
Yeah, in two years.
Have you walked into houses, whether someone's either lived there for a while or maybe just bought a house or whatever, and they say, we've got wires coming out of the ceiling or wires coming out of the wall. We have no idea what those are.
Yeah.
What is that? Like, you just lick your fingers and grab them and see what they do? Or
well, fortunately, that's the reason I do low voltage, right? There's a lot less chance of getting
it tickles less.
Yes. But no, that's very common. Almost every house, when people move out, they take all the electronics, but you can't take the wiring that's in the walls. So where the speaker wires come out of the wall, or, you know, I don't know if everybody's seen that, but you've just got this big wad of wires coming out.
Yeah.
And I had one job specific was, there was a handyman friend of mine who went through this house with a new homeowner that just moved in, and the handyman's or the homeowner said to the handyman, "Do you know what these wires are right here?" And he said, "You probably got to talk to a low voltage guy to figure that out." And he's like, "I did. I talked to a low voltage guy, and he couldn't tell me what they were." So the handyman guy said, "Well, I know a guy," and sent me out there, and I didn't even have to look at him. I walked in and I looked at his ceiling. I was like, "Yeah, those wires go to these speakers right here."
Wow.
And there was a low voltage guy that was there before me that couldn't tell him what those wires were for. And that's what I'm talking about, like the education. Like, everyone can mount a TV, right? And I get that. That's not low voltage as much as it's mechanical and reading the instructions.
That's a handyman type of thing.
I like doing that for more of the older generation, or, you know, the single moms or whatever. It's a service I offer, but I'm not going to make a lot of money there, and I don't want to. It's more of like doing a service for people that want someone quality to do it for them. And that's okay if a handyman wants to kind of do that stuff for you, or you do that yourself, that's fine. When you start getting into electronics, it isn't too hard to blow a speaker, fry an amp, fry the electronics that are in the wall, you know. So it's kind of important to know what you're looking at, or know how to test what you're looking at, what to disconnect before you start running signals or anything like that. So yeah, it's pretty I'm working in a house right now where they've lived there, I think she said 12 years, 14 years. And they've lived there and been going on in their lives, and then they had like a push button to release the gate so you can get into the courtyard thing. Yeah. Well, that quit working. And then their video doorbell went out, so I was out kind of checking things out, and I told them, "I need to go into your master bedroom closet." And when you tell a homeowner that, they're kind of like, "What the heck?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got some stuff in there." They're like, "Pretty sure I don't." And I walked in and looking in their closet, and I looked up in the corner, and sure enough, there's a bunch of wires coming out up above their crown molding up on like a shelf.
Wow.
I didn't even know about it. It's just being there for so long. I know how we pre-wire the houses. I know where all the wires, it's usually in your laundry room, your master bedroom closet. You've just got a bunch of wires coming to one spot. So it's centralized. So you don't have to, you know, not everyone has the ability to have an equipment room. So they take a corner of a common room or a out of sight room and kind of do the stuff there. So yeah, but I was able to get in there, and we found the wiring. Still got to figure out how we're going to fix it, but because the technology is archaic, so I got to kind of figure out how to bring it up to speed. But I think what happened is during some construction, some wires got cut in the walls.
Oh, sure.
And so now I got to figure out how to make that connection good again.
Who is your ideal client right now?
You know, this alarm thing is really new to my company. We just were registered with the Bureau of Technical Registration in June. You know, because you were there for the whole background part.
Congratulations.
That took a while, man. So we finally got through all that, and I'm really looking for those customers that either never have like signed up for an alarm because of the cost, or the people that are currently paying for an alarm system, especially with some of the bigger national companies that charge a lot. I'm gonna be way cheaper than any of those guys. I'm looking to just build up my base of alarm customers right now, where, you know, I'm a small local guy. It's gonna be able to form that relationship with you, help you out with whatever you need, and you know, at the same time get you good service and everything too.
Can you tie an alarm system in together with cameras and a doorbell and put that all together that way? Like, I don't know, I'm just thinking of something where it's like, if something gets triggered, now my alarm's going off, those cameras are coming alive, so to speak.
Well, of course, everything's got a cost, right? I've got a $13,000 camera. I can tell you that when you pop your head up over the fence, a green laser shoots out and says, "You've been detected. Remove yourself from the premises. Right now, the authorities have been contacted." And it'll follow you until you leave the premises.
I hope it's attached to an alligator.
Because
if it is, I'm buying it right now.
$13,000 for one camera, right? So there's lots of technology out there. My standard system that I do for my cameras, they have what's called humanoid detection, right? Okay. So you can set it out on your sidewalk, and as cars drive by or whatever, you won't get any notifications. It'll record. It's recording 24/7, so you can always go back and look, but you don't get any notifications or anything like that. Now, some guy walking his dog then decides to step into your yard, crosses a threshold that we establish, and there's a humanoid now in your yard. You'll get a notification there.
Interesting.
And so I work off of two apps, a camera app and an alarm app. And that's mainly for the notifications. You can actually see all of your cameras in the alarm app, but it doesn't notify you. You got to use the camera app. But you're in your house and you go to your alarm panel, you push the camera button, and all of your cameras come up. So you do actually have access to your cameras through your alarm system. But as far as the notifications can go, there's a camera app and an alarm app. So.
Interesting. Okay.
But ideal customer is anyone that's looking to kind of either save money on their existing alarm or finally get that alarm they've been thinking about, but we're holding off because of cost.
So when I also think of low voltage, I think of like lighting up my front yard or my backyard, right? Like I'm gonna, I put in like, gosh, this was years ago. I put in like solar lights and made a pathway, and it looked great for about 3 weeks.
Say 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, the solar lights.
The guy's house just before this meeting, doing a landscape lighting job. This was more of a maintenance thing. He had a couple lights either get disconnected or some bulbs that burn out or whatever. But yeah, that's something we offer too. You know,
is that like you can mount a transformer and set it up?
Remember
like
that transformer plugs in, right?
Yeah,
plugs in, it makes it low voltage, and then we run the wire from where that transformer location is. You tell us where you need lights. We kind of trench out, run the wire, bury it. When we're all done, all that's there is the light. You don't have wiring draped around your yard or anything. And then you can set them up to where they automatically come on. Well, different manufacturers, different things. Again, everything's got a price.
Like at sunset, it'll come on, like at the sensor.
That's just the basic standard one. You know, they have others that can, you know, you can change colors on them, you know, like the rainbow. Others, they say they're color changing, but that is more like warm versus cool lighting, like standard light bulb lighting, warm versus cool, you know, the orange light versus the blue light.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of them that have that option. But then there's even some that you can, like for Christmas, you can turn them all red and green and all that stuff.
So I'm going to totally throw a curveball at you.
I played baseball.
My neighbor, he has it like under his eaves. And so for like Halloween, it'll be orange and black. And for Valentine's Day, it'll be like red and white. And, you know, St. Patrick's Day, it'll be green.
Yep.
So Is that something you could do as well, like underneath
something we can
eaves?
do. I haven't done a lot of it, and it's actually one of the things I was looking into getting more involved in is the holiday season, hanging the lights and all that stuff. There's just a lot more to those systems than there used to. Again, all this technology, they got Bluetooth inflatable stuff now, you know, and it's one of my neighbors has this, or three of my neighbors have this 3-property big old show that's all, you push a button and it starts a big show, and you know, people are going all out for the holidays. And there's a lot of stuff there. And I've always been like, my favorite jobs I've worked on are like the museums, you know, like the really creative, outside of the box, you push a button to do something weird. Or there was one time, this isn't for my company, but when I was a young apprentice, we worked on the John Steinbeck Museum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But they were doing a recreation of is it Grapes of Wrath, where we had this barn. It was a barn. Obviously, it wasn't a barn, but it was in the museum. It looked like a barn. And we had speakers, and they were, you know, horses making their neighs or whatever you call that sound.
Yeah.
And then they actually, so you'd walk in, and a motion detector would pick you up, and that motion detector would start the audio track where the horse is making sounds. Then you cross another one, and you know those bathroom air fresheners, they go, you know, every so often. You'd cross a thing, and it would, and you get a horse scent as you walked in.
Was that like poop?
Yeah, well, you know, horse smell, stable smell. Yeah.
Okay.
And you just felt like you were in this.
My kids have fart spray.
Similar to that, yeah. Yeah, but you know, totally outside of the box type stuff. And when we're talking the Christmas stuff, you know, you can really get creative on what you can do. Yeah, man, when I build my house, I'm going to have some crazy stuff going on. Yeah. Like turrets and stuff, you know.
Alligators with lasers.
Yeah, moat and all sorts of things.
Jeremy, so we've talked about alarms, we've talked about speakers, we've talked about low voltage, we've talked about cameras, we've talked about lighting under the eaves and landscaping. Break this all down for me. What's the best way to get a hold of you? Where are you located? What areas are you servicing?
So I'm pretty much, I will say I will serve the whole valley, preferably East Valley. A lot of people are that way. But I'm right here in Gilbert, right down the road, actually. I have valleylowvoltage.com. Our phone number 480-648-5221. I don't call it very often. I'm pretty sure that's it. But yeah, you could also reach out, email jeremy@valleylowvoltage.com. We pretty much, you know, there's not a lot that we won't do.
Sure.
And we kind of are that company that people finally find that will take on that weird project.
Yeah.
Like that push button gate thing. Nope. She's talked to 3 different people that didn't even want to touch it.
Wow.
You know, and I just try to help people. That's really why I'm here. It's why I was setting the timers on the VCRs back in the day. Yeah. No one else knew what to do. I could set it for them, and you know, it's really technology. You either understand it or you don't, right? I've talked with a lot of people that are brilliant, genius people, but when it comes time to hooking up a sound bar that literally is just one cable, they get stuck, you know? And I've just got a really good understanding of it. I like doing it. I like helping people. I really like the older community. You know, they're really lost when it comes to technology.
Sure.
I feel sorry for them. They're pre-internet, you know, they're pre-VCR.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And now they have to, you can't not be involved. You've got these senior citizens that are forced to have a smartphone and you know, barely see or use their fingers, and you know, you've got to do everything through apps. And so I try to make it just, I'm not trying to sell real complex systems. I'm trying to help these people get accomplished what they're trying to get accomplished.
That's awesome.
And just, you know, my big thing is I'm going to be very budget friendly. I'm not a huge company. I'm not looking to be a huge company. I'm just looking to, you know, provide a good service for the area and form some good relationships and help people out.
Commercial and residential.
Commercial, residential, industrial, odds and ends, kind of, yeah. License for it all.
Awesome. Jeremy Miller, Valley Low Voltage. You do great work. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. You have an incredible story, and I appreciate where you've come from, the work that you've done, and everything that you continue to do. I think you're doing a great job.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming. If you'd like to be featured on Casey's Corner, please like, subscribe, share this video. Thanks very much. Have a great afternoon.